Hello students, I am Dr. Himanshu Kandpal, Assistant Professor English, Government MS College for Women, Bikaner. Today I am going to discuss figure of speech, hyperbole. Hyperbole is a figure of speech in which a writer or speaker exaggerates for the sake of emphasis. Hyperbole, derived from a Greek word meaning overcasting, is a figure of speech that involves an exaggeration of ideas for the sake of emphasis. Exaggeration means overstatement or overemphasis, describing of something and making it more than really it is. The word hyperbole is actually composed of two root words. Hyper, which means over, hyperbole, bole means which means to throw. So, etymologically, if we look at the origin and history of the word hyperbole, it translates roughly to overthrow or to throw over. Hyperbolic statements are usually quite obvious exaggerations intended to emphasize a point rather than be taken literally. So, what it actually means? Hyperbole actually means exaggerated statements. Exaggeration means overstatement or overemphasis. So, hyperbole means exaggerated statements or claims not meant to be taken literally. Hyperbole is often used in day-to-day speech. We often make use of hyperbolic statements in day-to-day speech. For example, upon seeing your friend after a long absence, you may say, I haven't seen you in a million years. Though we have met a week ago, this is the way of saying that I haven't seen you in a million year. This is a hyperbolic statement. You and your friend both know that this is not literally the case. Here, hyperbole is used to emphasize how long it feels since you last saw your friend. It uses exaggeration. The term exaggeration is going to come again and again. It uses exaggeration to emphasize a certain characteristic of something and especially how it feels. So, the claims made in the statement or in the hyperbolic statements meant not to be taken literally. Hyperbole can be used to communicate all kind of feelings and amuse or surprise people with the creativity of a description. Hyperbole is also often used in creative writing just to make a description more amusing or creative. For example, it is more interesting to say she had a brain the size of planet than she was really smart. It is always better to describe something in an original way, and hyperbole is a great opportunity to inject feeling and humor into a description. So, hyperbole is a figure of speech indicating exaggeration. It means a bold overstatement or tall talk. Professor M.H. Brown writes, the figure of speech called hyperbole, Greek for overshooting, is bold statement or extravagant exaggeration of fact used either for serious or comic effect. Now we are going to have a look at the examples of hyperbole include. The bag weighed a ton. I was so hungry I could eat a horse. She is older than the hills. I could sleep for a year. I was so tired. I've told you a million times to help with the housework. So, these hyperbolic statements indicate that it is a style of speech and writing which uses exaggeration in order to achieve a particular effect. These all are hyperbolic expressions. As a figure of speech, it consists in representing things as much greater or smaller than they really are, with the intention of producing a more striking effect than a plain statement. We can take an example from Donne's poem Go and Catch a Falling Star, which presents a beautiful example of the use of hyperbole when it says that if thou best born to strange sights, things invisible to see, ride 10,000 days and nights till age snow white hairs on thee, thou when thou returnest will tell me all strange wonders that befell thee, and swear nowhere lives a woman true and fair. This is the beautiful example of hyperbolic statement by Donne in his poem Go and Catch a Falling Star. Examples of there are a few of the examples of hyperbole in literature. We often use hyperbole in everyday speech, but we also use it in prose and poetry. For example, in love poetry, the speaker may use hyperbole to emphasize their intense passion and admiration for the beloved. For example, Ben Jonson's hyperbolic statements to his lady in the poem Drink to me only with thine eyes, and the ironic hyperboles in To His Coy Mistress poem written by Andrew Marvell. Here I am giving you the few examples of hyperbolic statements in literature. American poet W.H. Auden writes in As I Walked Out One Evening, I love you, dear, I love you, till China and Africa meet, and the river jumps over the mountain, and the salmon sing in the street. When will China and Africa meet? How can a river jump over a mountain? And when will salmon be intelligent enough to sing or evolved enough to walk the streets? Of course, none of these things will happen. So, we are not going to take all these claims are not meant to be taken literally. Of course, none of these things will happen, so it implies that the author will love her forever. W.H. Auden in using hyperbole to emphasize the strength of his love. In the second example, Joseph Conrad emphasizes the passing of time in the novel Heart of Darkness. I had to wait in the station for 10 days, an eternity. It seems to be eternity. 10 days is by no means an eternity, forever, but it felt like it. However, hyperbole is totally different from simile and metaphor. It does not make comparison as in simile and metaphor. Rather, it adds a humorous effect in the writing. In brief, it creates overstatement and it points out and put an action or a characteristic of a person. Sometimes it is combined with the alliteration and rhyme. Poet make use of alliteration and rhyme in hyperbolic statements. In literature, usage of hyperbole develops contrast. When one thing is described with an overstatement and other thing is presented normally, a striking contrast is developed. In literature, it carries a great significance as it allows the writers to present something common in an intense manner. In short, by applying hyperbole, one can turn a common feeling into a remarkable one. Most important thing, the use of hyperbole provides a contrast, as with this technique, something is explained by giving an extra stress, and on the other hand, the other descriptions remain normal. Hence, it grabs the reader's attention and makes the literary work memorable for a long time. So, this is all about hyperbole. And one thing more I would like to add here is that there's a contrary figure of speech, that is understatement. The Greek term is meiosis. This is the contrary figures of speech of hyperbole, that is called as understatement, and for that the Greek term is meiosis, which means lessening, which deliberately represents something as much less in magnitude or importance than it really is. This is the contrary figure of speech of hyperbole. That is, in hyperbole, we make use of overstatement. We make use of exaggeration. Here, we make use of, here the Greek term that we used for is meiosis, which means lessening. It means the poet deliberately represents something as much less in magnitude or importance than it really is, or is ordinarily considered to be. The effect is usually ironic, and as we can get the example from Jonathan Swift's A Tale of a Tub. Last week I saw a woman flayed, and you will hardly believe how much it altered her person for the worse. This is an example of meiosis. So, this is all about the term hyperbole, which means, which indicates exaggeration, and it is a Greek word meaning overshooting. It is a bold overstatement or exaggeration that a poet uses for the, or the writer uses for the sake of emphasis, and it is used by the writers as a device to produce the desired or comic effect. Thank you.